something changed. I felt it the moment he walked in the door. It was subtle at first. The way he avoided my eyes, the quick shower before even saying hello. But it was there. Like a scent I couldn't name. Like a sixth sense screaming at me that something was wrong. He came back from the gym smelling like her. Not like sweat. Not like deodorant. Like perfume. Floral. Expensive. Lingering. And he never wore cologne to the gym. Never. I asked him once, jokingly, "New trainer or new cologne?" He laughed it off. Said his trainer was strict, older, barely said a word. "All business," he said. But I knew something was off. I just didn't know how bad it really was. Not yet. My name's Madison. I'm 29 and I used to believe we were solid. Me and Jake. 3 years together, living in our cozy downtown apartment, saving for a house. We had a rhythm. Coffee in the mornings, dinner together every night. We were building a life. Or so I thought. Jake was never really a gym guy. He'd go occasionally, but it was always a chore for him. Until last fall. Suddenly, he was obsessed. Up at 6 a.m. every day. Protein shakes. Weights. Meal plans. It started when his company hired a new VP, this ripped, ex-military type who ran half marathons for fun. Jake didn't say it out loud, but I knew he felt small around him. So when he signed up for personal training, I encouraged it. I thought it was healthy. I thought it was good for him. God, I was such an idiot. It wasn't just the perfume. It was his phone, too. Always face down. Always locked. He changed his password. Said it was because of a work policy. And he started working late more often. Coming home showered. Exhausted. Too tired to even talk. Too tired to touch me. But the thing that finally broke me? The night I found the bra. Not mine. Not even close to my size. Black. Lacy. Tiny. Tucked deep into the laundry basket like it had been buried, but not well enough. My hands shook as I held it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just went still. Like my soul left my body and hovered above me. Watching. I waited for him to come home. He walked in with that gym bag slung over his shoulder, humming to himself like everything was fine. I held up the bra and said one word. "Whose?" And that's when his face changed. Not fear. Not guilt. Annoyance. That was the moment I knew. He wasn't sorry. He was just sorry I found out. He didn't deny it. He didn't even hesitate. He looked at the bra in my hand, sighed like I had just asked him to take out the trash, and muttered, "It's not what you think." I almost laughed. That line, that pathetic, overused line in the face of a betrayal this raw. My hands were still trembling, but I found my voice, sharp and low. "Then what is it, Jake? Enlighten me." He set his gym bag down like we were about to have a civilized conversation. Like I hadn't just found a stranger's lingerie in our laundry. He rubbed the back of his neck and said, "It's my trainer's. It must have gotten mixed in with my stuff." I stared at him, stunned. That was his story? That was the lie he was going with? "Her bra just accidentally ended up in your laundry?" I asked, voice rising. "What? Did it fly off during a deadlift and land in your duffel bag?" He had the audacity to chuckle. "It's not funny," I snapped. "Is her name Lexi? That's the name on your Apple Watch. The one that keeps sending you heart emojis and voice notes. You think I haven't seen them?" Silence. That was it. That was the nail in the coffin. Her name was Lexi, his personal trainer. Mid-30s. Blonde. Sculpted like a fitness ad. I'd seen her Instagram once when he first signed up, full of sweaty gym selfies and motivational quotes like, "Discipline over desire," and "Your body is your brand." I remember thinking she looked intense, like she lived on protein bars and compliments from men. He used to say she was just a coach, that she pushed him hard, that she didn't even smile. Now I knew why he said that, to throw me off the scent, to make me believe she wasn't a threat. But she was. She had been for months. I asked him, flat out, "How long?" He didn't lie this time. "Since January," he said, eyes down. It was May. 5 months. 5 months of morning sessions that turned into quick showers. 5 months of messages he deleted, calls he took outside, nights he came home too tired for me. 5 months of faking it. Was it just physical? I whispered, hating myself for asking, for still wanting it to mean less than it did. Another pause. Then, at first, I felt something inside me collapse. Not just my heart. Something deeper. Something that held me together. He sat down on the couch like he was the one who needed comfort. It wasn't supposed to happen, he said. But she understands me in a way you don't. She pushes me. She sees potential in me. And there it was. Not just betrayal but comparison. As if I had somehow failed him. As if his cheating wasn't a choice, but a consequence of me not seeing his potential. I looked at the man I had loved for 3 years and saw a stranger. And the worst part? He still didn't look sorry. That phrase haunted me. She sees potential in me. It looped in my head like a broken record, poisoning everything I'd ever done for him. I thought back to the nights I stayed up late helping him prep for interviews when he wanted to switch jobs. I remembered proofreading his resumes, organizing his LinkedIn, even lying to my boss to leave work early and help him move into his new office. I believed in him. I supported every damn version of him, even the ones he hadn't figured out yet. But that didn't matter now. Because some tight-bodied trainer told him to push harder, and suddenly my love, my patience, my quiet loyalty, none of it counted. I wasn't adrenaline. I wasn't ego-boosting protein praise. I was stability. Boring. Predictable. The woman who cooked him dinner and folded his socks while he fucked someone else between sets. I didn't cry. I refused to. Instead, I stood up. My body moved before my mind caught up. I walked past him into her bedroom and grabbed a duffel bag. Not mine, his. The same one he took to the gym, the same one that now felt tainted. I opened drawers, grabbed clothes, tossed them in. Fast. Brutal. Efficient. Like I was burning down the life we built, one piece of fabric at a time. He followed me. Madison, come on. Can we just talk about this? I spun around, the bag half-packed. You've had 5 months to talk, Jake. You talked to her. You lied to me. You chose her every single time you walked out that door pretending to go lift weights. And now you want to talk. He stepped closer, hand out like he wanted to touch me. I flinched back. Don't, I said. You don't get to touch me anymore. He didn't try again. Instead, he looked at the floor and muttered, I didn't mean to hurt you. I laughed cold, hollow. You think that makes it better? That this was just an accident? Like your dick slipped and fell into your trainer. His jaw clenched, but he didn't say anything. I sipped up the duffel bag and shoved it at him. Go stay with her. Let her see your potential up close. He didn't move. Just stood there, holding the bag, looking lost. And that's when it hit me, he wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of looking like the bad guy. The kind of man who blows up a good woman for the thrill of something new. He wanted me to forgive him, not because he loved me, but because my forgiveness would ease his guilt. I wouldn't give him that. Not anymore. I walked past him again, this time toward the bathroom. I slammed the door shut, locked it, and slid down to the floor. I didn't want to see him leave. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of one last look at me breaking. And only then, when I was finally alone with the truth, did I let the tears come. The next morning, he was gone. The apartment felt like a shell, like the air had been vacuumed out of it. I walked into the kitchen and saw his mug, the one with the chipped handle he always refused to throw out, still sitting on the counter. It made my stomach twist. That stupid mug had survived our entire relationship. I wanted to throw it at the wall, watch it shatter like everything else. But I didn't. I just stood there, barefoot on the cold tile, staring at it like it was a headstone. I didn't call in sick to work. I couldn't. I needed the distraction. Anything to stop the spiral. My hands kept reaching for my phone, instinctively checking for messages that weren't there. I wanted to scream, but I smiled through meetings, nodded through emails, pretended like my world hadn't just been flipped inside out by a sports bra and a lie. That night, I went to the gym. His gym. I know it was reckless, masochistic even, but I needed to see it. I needed to see her. The woman he threw me away for. The woman who saw his potential. I needed to know what made her so special. What made her worth destroying everything for. I walked in chin high, heart racing. The place reeked of rubber mats and ego. Mirrors lined every wall, reflecting rows of flexing men and leggings-clad women chasing their ideal selves. I scanned the space and saw her immediately. Lexi. She was exactly as I remembered, tall, lean, flawless skin glistening under the harsh gym lights. She wore a black sports bra and tight shorts, her blonde ponytail bouncing with every step as she barked commands at some sweaty guy struggling to lift. She didn't even glance in my direction. But I couldn't look away. I watched her for a full 10 minutes. Not because I was impressed, because I was furious. This was who Jake destroyed me for? A walking motivational quote with abs? She didn't seem magical. She didn't glow. She looked like someone who counted almonds for dinner and believed cheating was a lifestyle choice, not a mistake. I was about to leave when she finally noticed me. Our eyes locked. For a split second, I saw something flicker in hers. Recognition. Discomfort. Maybe even guilt. But it passed quickly, replaced by that same fake, polished confidence I'd seen on her Instagram. She walked over. "Madison, right?" she said, voice smooth like protein powder in almond milk. "Jake mentioned you." The audacity. I wanted to slap her. Instead, I smiled. That terrifying, calm before the storm smile. "Yeah, I'm the girlfriend he forgot to mention for 5 months." She blinked. No apology. Just a tiny shrug. "I didn't know at first," she said. "But by the time I did, things were already complicated." Complicated? I echoed, nearly choking on the word. There's nothing complicated about integrity. You sleep with someone's partner, that's not a gray area. That's just garbage behavior. She crossed her arms, unbothered. "Look, I didn't come after him. He made his own choices." I laughed, dark and sharp. "Oh, don't worry, I don't think you're that special. He probably would have screwed the towel girl if she wore enough lip gloss." That got to her. A twitch in her jaw. "Good." I turned around and walked out, my legs shaking but steady. I didn't cry. Not in front of her. Not in that temple of testosterone and betrayal. The gym wasn't a place for growth anymore. It was a battlefield. And I had survived my first war. In the days that followed, the silence was the hardest part. Not just the absence of Jake in the apartment, no footsteps, no gym bag dumped by the door, no muttered complaints about his protein powder being too chalky, but the silence in my own head. The stillness that came after the screaming storm. I thought I'd feel free, empowered even. Instead, I felt like a balloon someone had let go of too soon, floating, spinning, directionless. People around me didn't know. Not at first. At work, they still asked, "How's Jake doing?" Like he hadn't detonated my heart with a pair of abs and a smile. I smiled, nodded, lied through my teeth. Said he was busy. Said he was focusing on fitness. God, the irony of that line almost made me laugh out loud. I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. That I'd been cheated on. That I'd been replaced by a woman who probably thought emotional depth was a weakness and protein shakes were a personality. But secrets rot you from the inside. So I told my best friend, Vanessa. We sat on my couch, wine in hand, candles lit like some kind of post-apocalyptic healing ritual. I told her everything. The bra. The lies. The confrontation. The gym. Lexi. She didn't say a word at first. She just listened, eyes wide with fury and disbelief. And then she did what only real friends do, she didn't just console me. She raged with me. "That plastic bitch," she said, nearly choking on her Chardonnay. "She looks like a discount influencer with a god complex. You lost Jake, babe, not a damn prize." I laughed for real this time. A raw, painful laugh. It felt good. Like letting go of something heavy. But the truth was, it still hurt. Because deep down, it wasn't just about losing him. It was about losing who I was with him. I started questioning everything, every moment we shared, every word he ever said. Was it all fake? Was he already looking at her when he said he loved me? And the worst part? I started questioning myself. Was I not enough? Not exciting enough? Not fit enough? Was I too safe, too predictable, too domestic? I stared at myself in the mirror for hours some nights, analyzing every flaw, every soft curve he must have grown bored of. But one night, something changed. I saw an Instagram story. Lexi. Of course. She was filming a client doing deadlifts, Jake. His form was good, his back straight, sweat glistening on his skin. And then, at the end of the video, she turned the camera to herself and whispered, "Killer couple grind." Couple. My stomach dropped. So, it wasn't just an affair anymore. They were public. They were proud. They were broadcasting the relationship that had been built on lies, betrayal, and my humiliation. And people were liking it. Commenting fire emojis. Saying goals. Messaging support. None of them knew. None of them cared. I was the joke. And everyone laughed behind my back. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat down, opened my laptop, and started writing. Not about him. Not about her. About me. Because if they were going to turn my pain into their fairy tale, then I was going to take my heartbreak and make it into something they couldn't touch, my truth, my story, my healing. And this time, I would be the one who decides how it ends. There's something strange that happens when someone betrays you so publicly, you stop being a person and start becoming a reference point. A cautionary tale? A punchline. People whisper. They speculate. They dissect the ruins of your relationship like forensic experts at a crime scene. And you? You sit there quietly wondering if any of it was ever real, if you were ever real in their world, or just a placeholder until something shinier came along. I kept watching from the sidelines. I told myself I shouldn't, but I did. I watched their rise as a couple like it was some deranged reality show I couldn't turn off. The worst part? Jake seemed happy. Not guilty. Not conflicted. Just glowing. He didn't just cheat. He rebranded. Suddenly he was a fitness guy. A wellness advocate. Posting reels with Lexi, meal prepping on camera, doing those nauseating couple workouts where they pass medicine balls back and forth like they're tossing each other trust and stability. It was grotesque. He looked like a man who'd been liberated, not like someone who'd blown up a 3-year relationship with a woman who once held his head while he cried about losing his dad. I remember one video in particular. It was Lexi's idea, clearly. She always had the influencer instincts. They were sitting on yoga mats, side by side, talking about aligning energies and cutting toxic ties. Cutting toxic ties. I almost threw my phone across the room. Was I the toxic tie? The woman who loved him through his layoffs, who nursed him back after his surgery, who paid for half the damn couch he now probably shared with her, and their aligned energies. I started spiraling again. Not because I wanted him back. God, no. But because I couldn't stand the injustice of it all. That he got to rewrite the narrative while I was left cleaning up the emotional wreckage alone. That he got applause for a new chapter while I still woke up in a bed that smelled like him sometimes. Healing, I realized, wasn't a straight line. It was a war. And some days I lost. But something happened one evening that cracked something open inside me. I ran into his mother. At Trader Joe's, of all places. I was reaching for a jar of almond butter when I heard her voice behind me. Madison? I froze. Slowly turned. And there she was, Linda, with her perfectly ironed blouse and that same gentle, worried smile I remembered from holidays and Sunday dinners. She looked at me the way a mother looks at someone she once hoped would become a daughter-in-law. I've been meaning to call, she said, eyes already watering. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. And she hugged me. Right there, next to the dried fruit aisle, she pulled me into her arms and held me like I was the one who'd lost everything. And maybe in a way I had. She told me she hadn't met Lexi. Didn't want to. That she told Jake he was a fool. That she still kept a photo of me on her bookshelf. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel crazy. I didn't feel discarded. I felt seen. It didn't erase the pain. It didn't undo what he did. But it reminded me that not everyone had bought into their perfect couple delusion. Some people still remembered who I was before the wreckage. And maybe, just maybe, I could start remembering her too. After that run-in with his mother, something inside me shifted. Not dramatically, not like in a movie where the broken woman suddenly becomes fierce and flawless. No, it was quieter than that, like a curtain finally lifting after months of darkness. For so long, I had been defining myself by what I lost. Now, I was starting to remember who I had been before him, before the lies, before the betrayal, before Lexi slithered her way into the cracks of my life. I didn't jump into some glow-up montage. I didn't cut my hair or get a revenge body. That's not how real healing works. I didn't want to become someone new to prove to him or her that I was worth keeping. I just wanted to become me again. Slowly. Honestly. And maybe even better. I started simple. I threw out the sheets we used to sleep in. Washed the couch cushions, deep cleaned the kitchen. Not because they were dirty, but because they held memories I no longer wanted to breathe in. I made a playlist, not of sad songs, but of music I loved before Jake. Songs he used to skip. Songs I used to sing in the car when I was still a girl who didn't measure her worth by a man's attention. Then I did something bold, terrifying even. I went back to the gym. Not his gym. Never again. I found a small studio a few blocks from my place. It didn't have giant mirrors or flashy equipment or influencers filming their every squat. It smelled like eucalyptus and wood polish. There were real people there, people who sweat, who struggled, who looked like they were fighting their own battles in silence. I signed up for a women's boxing class. Not because I wanted to fight, but because I needed to feel strong again. Needed to punch something, metaphorically and literally. The first class wrecked me. I could barely keep up. My arms shook, my legs burned, and every time I hit the bag, I thought of Jake's face. Not in anger, in disbelief. In heartbreak. In shame. I cried in the shower after. But it was a clean cry. A necessary one. Over the next few weeks, I kept going. Kept punching. Kept breathing. And something miraculous started to happen. I started sleeping through the night. I started laughing without guilt. I started feeling attractive again, not because someone told me I was, but because I could look in the mirror and see fire in my eyes again. A slow, quiet flame that said, "You're still here. You survived." Lexi could keep her meal plans and matching sports bras. Jake could keep his filtered videos and motivational captions. What they had was built on betrayal. On weakness. On the rotting bones of something I had built with love and trust. Let them dress it up however they want. Underneath, it would always reek of guilt and cowardice. Me? I was building something real. Brick by brick. Punch by punch. And this time, no one would be allowed to steal it from me. It had been 2.5 months when he showed up at my door. I knew the knock. It was soft, familiar, the kind that once meant, "I forgot my keys again," or "Can you let me in before I drop these groceries?" But now it felt different. Hesitant. Almost guilty. I froze for a second, halfway through folding laundry, my heart pounding like it hadn't in weeks. I had imagined this moment before, what I would say, how I would look, how I would not let him see me flinch. But nothing ever prepares you for the real thing. I opened the door slowly. There he was. Jake. Same face. Same eyes. But something was off. He looked thinner, paler, like the glow from his new life had dimmed. He was holding his cap in his hands like a child in trouble. He opened his mouth to speak, but I beat him to it. "What do you want, Jake?" No smile. No warmth. Just steel in my voice. He hesitated, shifted on his feet. "Can I come in? Just for a minute." I crossed my arms. "Depends. Is Lexi waiting in the car?" He flinched at that, and I'll admit, a small, cruel part of me took satisfaction in it. He shook his head. "We're not together anymore." Of course. Of course they weren't. That's how these things go, don't they? Passion burns hot and fast and then scorches everything in its wake. I stepped aside, not to welcome him in, but to let him stand in the ruins he helped create. He walked in slowly, looking around like it was the first time. But it wasn't his anymore. The furniture was in new places. New art on the walls. The air smelled like eucalyptus and defiance. I had scrubbed his presence out of every crevice, and now he was just a ghost visiting a home that no longer remembered him. He turned to me. "I don't even know where to begin." I shrugged. "Try the truth. That'd be new." He sighed. "I made a mistake." "No," I said, voice cold but calm. "You made choices. Repeatedly. Consciously. Soberly. For months." He nodded, eyes down. "I know. I thought she was different. That she saw me in a way you didn't." "And did she?" I asked, not because I cared, but because I wanted him to say it out loud. "She saw a version of me I wanted to be. But it wasn't real. It wasn't sustainable." I raised an eyebrow. "So, what, you want a cookie for figuring that out after torching your life?" He didn't answer. He looked defeated. "Good." Then came the line I had prayed he wouldn't say, because it was too predictable. Too pathetic. "I miss you." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so damn typical. The man who leaves for someone shinier only to realize that sparkle was just tinfoil. I stepped closer, not in affection, but in clarity. "You don't miss me, Jake. You miss the version of yourself that didn't feel like a complete failure. And guess what? That man doesn't exist anymore. You buried him the moment you chose her over us." He blinked, clearly not expecting the new me. This wasn't the woman who cried in the bathroom. This wasn't the woman who begged him to stay. This was someone who had rebuilt herself from broken glass and dared him to try and cut her again. "I'm not here to fix anything," he said quietly. "I just needed you to know I regret it." I nodded. "Good. Now carry that regret with you. Let it grow old beside you. Let it be your bedtime story." He stood there, stunned. I didn't invite him to stay. I didn't cry. I opened the door and said the most powerful word I had ever spoken to him. "Goodbye." And I meant it. After he left, I stood by the door for a long time. Not because I was hoping he'd come back. Not because I was unsure. But because I was stunned by how little it hurt. The man who once held my heart had become a shadow, and when he walked away for the second time, it didn't break me, it barely touched me. And that was the real moment of freedom. Not the boxing classes, not the crying on the bathroom floor, not even the confrontation at the gym. No, this was it. The realization that he no longer had power over me. That the man who shattered me could not reach the woman I had become. The weeks that followed were quieter than before. Not empty, just peaceful. I didn't wake up with that hollow ache in my chest anymore. I didn't flinch at the sound of notifications. I even stopped checking Lexi's Instagram, which apparently had gone dormant since their breakup. I imagined her somewhere licking her wounds, justifying her choices, telling herself she was misunderstood. But I didn't care anymore. Their drama was no longer my business. I wasn't a part of their circle of dysfunction. I was out. And that's when the healing turned into growth. I started saying yes to things I used to turn down, brunches with friends I had neglected during my relationship, weekend trips I always said I was too tired for, spontaneous walks that led to conversations with strangers who didn't know my past. I met people who didn't look at me with pity, who didn't see the cracks in me. They just saw me present, curious, alive. One afternoon, while journaling at a cafe, a woman my age sat beside me and struck up a conversation. We ended up talking for 2 hours. At one point, she said, "You've got this incredible calm around you, like you've been through hell and came out glowing." And I smiled. Not because I was proud of the hell, but because I had survived it with my soul intact. There was no big revelation, no magical new love, no grand revenge moment. Just quiet victories. Like being able to hear a song that once played during our road trips and not feel a stab in my chest. Or walking past the aisle with men's razors without thinking, "He used to like this brand." Or finally taking that pottery class I had postponed for 2 years because Jake thought it was a waste of time. That's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It forces you to relearn everything. What you like, what you hate, who you are when no one is watching. And sometimes the rediscovery is even more beautiful than the original version. I no longer needed closure from him. I didn't need a letter, an apology, or even karma to even the score. Closure, I learned, isn't something you're given. It's something you take. And I had taken mine. I used to think heartbreak was the worst thing that could happen to a person. That betrayal was a kind of death, slow, silent, devastating. And in a way, it is. It kills something inside you. It buries the innocence, the trust, the blind belief that love, if you nurture it, will always be enough. But what I didn't understand back then, in the chaos, in the anger, in the quiet nights filled with questions, was that heartbreak isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's the beginning of the one you were meant to live. Months passed. My apartment felt like mine again. My reflection looked like someone I respected. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for anything, not an apology, not an explanation, not revenge. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living. One evening, I found an old photo tucked into the back of a drawer. It was Jake and me at a Halloween party 3 years ago. We were laughing, really laughing, with our arms wrapped around each other. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize the girl in the picture. Not because she looked different, but because she was different. She believed love alone was unbreakable. She believed promises were sacred. She believed he'd never hurt her. I smiled at that girl. Not with pity. With gratitude. Because without her, I wouldn't be here standing in my own light, no longer dimmed by someone else's shadow. I slipped the photo back into the drawer, not to cling to the past, but to honor it. Every step, every tear, every breakdown had brought me to this exact moment. And this moment? It was peaceful. It was mine. They say time heals all wounds. But I think that's too passive. Time doesn't heal, you do. By choosing not to go back. By waking up every day and deciding not to text them. By unfollowing. By letting go of the need to be understood by someone who couldn't even tell the truth. By building something from the ashes they left behind and daring to call it beautiful. One night, while walking home from the gym, my sanctuary, I passed a couple on the sidewalk. They were laughing, holding hands, glowing in that naive, early-stage kind of way. And for the first time, it didn't make me ache. It made me hopeful. Because I wasn't closed off. I wasn't bitter. I still believed in love, just not the cheap kind. Not the kind that cracks under pressure or hides behind lies. The kind that shows up. Stays honest. Grows roots. And maybe someday I'll find that. But until then, I'm enough. More than enough. Because the truth is, I didn't lose the love of my life. I lost someone who never truly deserved to be in mine. And that wasn't a tragedy. That was a gift.